Hello, and welcome back to the Argyle CFO Leadership Forum. My name is Brittany Sullivan with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, which include complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat, and we will address your questions at the end of the session. Now, without further delay, I would love to introduce our speaker, Saurabh Arora, Director of Finance, Head of FP&A Canada at Equifax. We're excited to have Saurabh with us for a keynote titled The Role of FP&A in Finance. Welcome, Saurabh, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Melissa. It's an absolute pleasure. Good afternoon, everybody. Although I can't see you, and I know you guys are all able to see and hear me, and it's actually I'm really thankful that you were able to find the time to listen to me. I've been asked to do a keynote on role of FP&A in finance. Even after 16 years in finance and overall 20-year career, I feel like an ardent student. Not to be modest here, but over the years I've seen the evolution, and I see where FP&A stands today. Still a student, learning a lot. As we become more and more scientific, more predictive, and of course more collaborative. There's no upper limit to that. I today, I want to talk about really what my career has been in FP&A, how I've seen it evolve, and then I want to describe a maturity model through a think tank I've been associated with over the course of the last 2-3 years in Toronto City, and it's an international FP&A board founded in 2013. And they've published some splendid material on FP&A evolution, and that just jives really, really well with me over my journey. So with that, no further ado, I'm going to dive into the presentation. Lots of slides to cover. Please ping with questions. I'm able to see and hear them the backstage. But yes, there's material to cover, and I would do my best to not be cryptic and also find some time for Q&A. So who am I? 16 years of finance career across CPG, tech, and media. About 4 years in engineering and core product development, and a bit in M&A. So yes, I do have experience and knowledge around diverse areas. Wouldn't call myself jack of all trades. There's definitely scope of mastery, but above the jack sometimes, and sometimes just a jack. So the ability to adopt robust FP&A strategy and build an agile and sustainable operating model in a sector that I work in today with Equifax, marked by heavy capital investment, high fixed costs, and sensitivity to economic trends. So the FP&A function becomes more and more critical, and as we see the tides of economy change, the FP&A function becomes even more pertinent, specifically in our industry where a lot of online volume comes from consumer demand, mortgage, and various sectors. So with that said, again, as I said, I want to go through the FP&A trends with you. There's a maturity model. I want to walk through that, the 6 dimensions and 5 stages of that model. And then we'll talk about moving to the leading stage of FP&A and how you actually create your transformation map or journey. Some practical insights on my end in my career, and then of course the model journey in Equifax Canada. We will talk a little bit about AI in the end, and then of course find time for Q&A. Okay, so this is my career profile. I'm a bachelor's in engineering, a master's in science in engineering and economics, and an MBA in corporate finance. I've spent the last 16 years across these, or last 20 years rather, across these organizations. Longest with PepsiCo, in New York, where I joined in corporate strategy, reporting directly to Indra Nui in her team, and spent about 11 years, across different countries, P&L sizes, businesses, New York, Chicago, Dubai, India, and in Toronto currently, um, where I am. I left PepsiCo right around COVID time to get back into tech. As you see in the downward logos here, I spent a good amount of time in tech. So I wanted to get back to tech, and CDW was a great choice for me to understand the retail environment of tech. So I joined them as the head of FP&A, built the team out, headed the Office of Strategic Initiatives, and then landed at Equifax in core tech, as Equifax is now almost, at least in Canada, towards the end of its transformation journey in cloud. And it's an out and out data and analytics company. So, what best to actually make analytical FP&A, a journey here, as well as how we transform our cloud journey and our product journey. So last 2 years has been at Equifax. I had FP&A here, support pricing, report to the CFO. And then prior to that, I went to Cornell for MBA back in 2009 and 11, which is the last economic crash. And before that, I spent 3 years at a tech startup in the Silicon Valley. Got sold to Riverbed. Landed at Riverbed for some time in the Bay Area, and then my prior gigs have been at NASA as a satellite engineer and Hughes. So those have been sort of my brand builders and career builders. And I think I've learned, as you can see, a very diverse bit of knowledge across the board. Today, if I talk about FP&A, right, my only fundamental philosophy in finance is business complexity cannot be reduced. It can only and always be managed. So it will get more and more complex. Yes, we'll get even more analytical. There will be a lot of cross leverages, cross connections, which is great. And the complexity is only here to increase. So the function is always here to stay. As many tools and as many analytics as you try to bring in. The focus on process improvement and analytical enhancements to manage large data sets from multiple sources, we've seen that in a huge way the last couple of years. And here I want to be cautious. And it is to distinguish between noise and the focus on trends. And this is what various organizations grapple through in their entire process. And this is how some of the leading organizations with the use of tech, more robust processes and integrating their drivers and scenarios into the planning process, manage the complexity, and they get closer to the business. So I think what various boards and including the board I just cited, which is the International FP&A Board, it's think tank, and various think tanks have been working in or on is towards defining the process and constantly refining it with the newer advances in the field. Now, I don't know the audience today or the demographics, but a lot of colleagues today may be from different age groups. We may have some millennials in our community as well today, and those who have been in the process probably more than 15 years, like me. And they will remember Excel-based tools, a lot of late nights with Excel, a lot of judgment on flat files and loading and load files and entire discussions that were geared towards line items and P&L. Sometimes, there will be decisions that were judgment driven and even personality driven. We come from different personalities, right? And now, as the time has moved on, I saw, personally speaking, and this is not reflective of how FP&A has evolved. Just I have evolved in that way, and in the time I have seen last 5 to 8 years ago, we started using BI heavily. Drivers have become more important. Multiple non-finance information has gotten integrated to the discussions today. It is still a combination of manual and external data sources. But yeah, it used to take 3 to 4 months for a dedicated planning cycle earlier. I mean, while at PepsiCo, we used to do planning all year. Today, the deadlines are far more compressed. There are different reasons to that. Of course, the decisions are more complex in nature. In publicly traded companies, obviously, earnings and expectations and more rigor to expectations or more forecast accuracy is a driver as well to a more compressed planning cycle. Recently, the advanced analytical tools have found their way into a more continual process, right? So we are different than olden times when we were collecting and cleaning the data all year. We are actually continuously planning all year, and the drivers are more profound, robust, more prevalent across the organization. uh, you've seen multiple data sources pop up. They're automatically integrated, which is great. Sometimes we have to work on integrations, and that is a journey, and I'm sure you guys have been there too. There is manual work to put analysis together, but it's greatly reduced. Time to connect to BI is really low now. Developing automatic queries, we all know how to do that. Scenario planning is part of all the tools that we use, um, and FX updates and things of that nature. I mean, it takes us, if hours, if not minutes, to do those. Um, and that's all of this stuff has been reduced and replaced with more profound discussion around the facts on the ground. So, what you see here is the main obstacle is to what is the FP&A analytical transformation. Some companies are ahead of it. Some companies are evolving. Some companies are not. And I'll show you soon. I mean, in the survey data, we saw all kinds of motivations. So data quality, integration, time, alignment of processes, mindset, technology, speed of change, all of them drive analytical transformation. But the biggest thing is the will, right? Do you really want to do it? Um, they ran a survey. So I'm going to present a few findings from this think tank. And they ran a survey across 3 cities. They have chapters there to about main obstacles to FP&A analytical transformation. A solid response, maybe 300 plus companies in the survey. So London said real-time insight, model complexity, skills and resources, various reasons. Boston said risk averse, adversity, and leadership. Um, there is no intersection between London and Boston, as you see. In New York, I said adoption of new technology and talent. So the reason I'm showing you this is not for my love of these 3 cities. It's because the reasons are a full plate and they are not intersecting, right? So just to reflect, in some companies across different parts of the world, you have a few things, but not the rest, and that's probably that is the challenge on this journey. Um, Again, the most critical factor to drive successful FP&A change, the survey responded leadership and culture. 83% of people said that, whereas only minuscule or the bottom quartile of the audience said process, technology, and skills, which is great. We always focus on that, right? But no one talks about leadership and culture and will to change. Um, we will go through what the maturity model is as defined by the FP&A board, and that will be I think it's a terrific transformation roadmap. The way, if you ever attend their workshops, is they will tell you what are the practical experience and group work around how we actually do it. So there's a think tank meeting, and we do it every month in different cities across the world. um, General overview of the model, and I think I'll design this presentation in that manner today for you guys too. The 6 dimensions and 5 stages of FP&A maturity, and then how do we really move to a leading state, or what people call extended FP&A and various names to it. So before we start, my question to you guys is it even possible to plan for uncertainty? And so ask that, I'm not able to get those responses today. Please feel free to chat up in your chat window, and I can read those responses. But do think about this internally, and see how convinced of an answer you get back. But what we say is journey to the leading stage really is scenario management in real time, multidimensionally, and collaboratively. So traditional FP&A we did talk about, with data, culture, people, cascaded driver-based models, collaborative platforms, and predictive and prescriptive analytics. And it's a good point, because you want to really understand the difference between the two. Prescriptive analytics is backward looking, and we've you do want to predict future, or describe a problem that you think will occur because of the past, and you do think about the solution in advance. But predictive is different. It actually tells you about a problem that you do not know and will occur in the future. So the unknown unknown, right? The known unknown versus the unknown unknown. And we always hear, right, the unknown is the bigger devil. So the real reason is, okay, what happens in Canada when the Bank of Canada drops the interest rate, and how would the next month, really see the mortgage market revive? And then will that continue for the next year when they drop the rates 2 or 3 times more? And will that effect be similar or diminished? So those kinds of things. And the last time Bank of Canada did that is 2017. I know if I go back and just look at that and use that as a premise to model, then that's being prescriptive. Predictive really is using AI and ML to provide a data set going back 30 years or 25 years. And that's the beauty of data ingestion for AI and ML, that they actually can ingest a great amount of data, huge, which normally for a human to view in an Excel is impossible, and then give you predictability on the basis of that, right? So I'll let you think about this for a minute. But what we have seen recently is advanced analytical tools now have found their way into a more continuous process. Now, for example, if a visionary state is, a discussion which has moved away from subjectivity towards market analysis, I just described, towards funnel, conversion rates, install basis, number of hours, time, utilization rates, and really away from P&L driven discussions. So the more you're connecting the P&L drivers and variances, right, to actual operational drivers, and, cycle times, utilization rates, basic stuff, but still the connectivity is where the problem lies. And that's really the true visionary state of extended FP&A. And the latter is still there. It's just very fact and driver based now. And what I see in the next 5 years or so, and I'm no oracle here, but the future is going to be that the world is visual. We all talk about dashboards. A lot of analysis and data will be on visual interfaces. Time, energy, skills are all going to be driven by capabilities analytically and ability to narrate a story and understand all of these information systems together. And no time will be spent or should be spent on preparing and collecting the data and cleaning the data, right? Heavy focus and automation on that. And with RPAs, multiple sources of data are being connected today. Finance professionals and future CFOs would accelerate decision making. Multiple scenario planning would be, part of the game, and at a short notice, advanced predictive analytics and models will be integrated with active decision making. And finally, finance will be an integral part of decision making and a sounding board from prescriptive to predictive, and actually telling the organization what may happen or can happen, and you haven't even thought of that. So a lot of AI stuff has happened in terms of predicting demand and consumer behavior. Momentum shift is yet to occur with how that operational and market predictive models are going to shape your finances, and that's where a lot of companies are working towards it. So while we understand what will happen and where are we today, let's go through the maturity model real quick. Before we do that, think of a key takeaway from your experience with FP&A transformation. So FP&A trends maturity model, right? It's divided into these stages of states and these dimensions, right? Leadership, skills and capabilities, business partnering, process, data analytics, and technology. And you can really practically map all these companies, across this X and Y axis, developing, intermediate, or leading. So it's really up to you where you map your organization today. I would love for you to just go back and think about all of these and try and map yourself. It's a good reflection exercise. A lot of detail in this maturity model. See it at your own leisure, but you know, focus on the leading state and the level 5. Really, that's where you want to be. So from a leadership standpoint, they should be fully aligned. Strategic, business, and operation plans would want to be linked, right? There are business um, in various businesses, there are biases where actually that does not happen, and sometimes just by design. Um, and that's a deterrent that needs to happen. That should be the focus of the organization, not just FP&A alone, right? The CEO and the COO should talk. and they want to be able to or should be able to align their operational plan with the financial plan. The cultural change should always exist, not that we don't do that this way or we transform and now we're not transforming anymore. Championing, coaching, mentoring, and growth, collaboration. Those things are buzzwords, but they are really, really true. And they have to happen on a continual basis. Strategic focus, spanning product and service life cycles. So product life cycles and every product, when you go and map, product margins, you really should be able to even predict the future margin of that product based on the life cycle the product is in and what the future state in terms of the growth of the market is. Integrated multidisciplinary team. You should have an analyst, a data scientist, and an architect in an FP&A team. Talent is hard to get, we all know that, but at least, as professionals, we should focus on not just being analysts. Go and do courses in AI and ML and actually try to be data scientist at times, and even an architect, a tech architect, right? So that we don't have to rely on your BI teams all the time to even do the simplest of RPAs. And this is different from really doing the job of coding and actually making it happen and doing the UAT. No, I'm not talking about that. But to be able to architect in building blocks of how this RPA is going to function and how the process is going to change is something that FP&A should be able to do. Storytelling and influencing, we all know that. That's stuff you were hired for. Um, from a business partnering standpoint, strategic advisor is the key, right? And then strategic business mastery is also the key. So you can only be a good advisor if you really, really understand your own business. So sometimes if you take an accounting-based approach and only, ascribe variances and accrual reversals and all sorts of noise that we present to the business does not think that we are strategic or we understand it. So understanding market reality, doing a lot of groundwork on all core consumer behavior, market behavior, the connection of economic data to the business is how you achieve your buy-in to the organization. So where are you on the FP&A maturity ladder? Okay, I'm going to walk through some very quick surveys, which are very interesting. So 475 respondents to the survey. 16% said basic state. Only 2% said leading state. Right, rest all fall in the middle, and the second bottom quartile is developing and defined. So 45% of these organizations are here. How do leadership skill development and business partnering impact FP&A maturity? Think about that. Is it all happening together, or one of the three things are lacking? So the softer dimensions probably are more important than the tech, which is the leadership skills and capabilities in partnering. And when you talk about leadership, right, a new wave of FP&A leaders is influencing entire organization cultures and changing, the mindsets of all the leadership teams, bringing in combination of analytics and soft skills to influence how executives make decisions. And so there's a lot of material I'm gonna probably have to skip because of time paucity, but I do, it would be great if you guys can go through that, because ultimately it starts from, the ground level behavioral state all the way to, how it really affects your FP&A model. So here, right, leadership starts from being a boardroom champion and a cultural change maker, all the way to actually how development and collaboration happens. But there are stages to it, right? So for you to be able to map your journey, you have to understand which stage are you on as a professional and as a team, right? You may be a strategic planner, but is your team called a strategic planning team? Or, in a region, maybe in your HQ you are, but not in the region you are in. Or yes, you call a strat plan team, but do you have all organizational alignment? Because if you don't have that, then there's no way you can get to collaboration. Similarly, so talking about skills and capabilities, as I said, it's hard to be a data scientist and an influencer and a storyteller at the same time. But here, that's why I said you're always a student. So 5 FP&A team roles is what I feel are the future of tomorrow. Analysts have always been there. Architects, as I said, data scientists, storytellers, and influencers. Skills and capabilities as well, right? Versatile teams, all the way, which lead to skill sharing events, or actually, the future state is I'm going to be able to host events in my organization to share and develop my skills. Um, because I don't know data science myself, so I'm going to ask my data and analytics group or a product development team to teach me that, right? And fill those skill gaps yourself. Sometimes just taking courses does not help. So build those internal linkages in the organization. Business partnering, right? Comprehensive, all the way, as I said, to business mastery. So start just with collaboration, developing internal business partners, and we all have a few, right? But there's rarely an oversight committee on how the collaboration really is. And if you don't have that oversight committee, just the leadership, no one knows how the collaboration is comprehensive, or it's probably not. And if it's not collaborative, you don't have, or you're not an influencer or treated as a trusted advisor, then you'll never be able to become a business master. You'll never be able to learn the business, and for them to actually teach you the business. It works both ways. So FP&A team performance, right? Where is FP&A spending most of the time? Focus on the right-hand graphic. The red and the orange will tell you where most of the time is spent. Probably the yellow as well. But you add the three, 60%, and nothing much has changed over years. There is slight changes on the green boxes, where more and more teams are now trying to drive actions of becoming action oriented, right? But there's still a lot of time which is being spent on information generation, data validation, and collection. I'm going to skip all that, honestly, because we're almost on time here. But I do want to go through the last few slides. Let me skip through those. These are also very interesting results, right? So planning applications. Um, Homegrown solution or older generation modules attached to accounting systems. Even today, right, there are 52% companies that are doing spreadsheet-based planning. Shocking, right? Forecast accuracy, 40% of the organizations, they themselves admit it is high or good level of accuracy, but 46% say acceptable and 14% say poor. So actually, this seems to be a good result. If you would have asked me a couple of years ago, I think no one would say I have anything above 90%. And today, yes, we are able to actually confirm that through machine learning, that the accuracy is in fact there with no judgments. Same thing for scenario planning. And lastly, data and analytics, right? So you have to really be able to build a data case, or sorry, a business case for data access and enhancement. And only then, once you collaborate with IT and you become an architect and become an IT change maker, is when you will actually be able to actually implement driver-based planning and create simple scenarios. Otherwise, you're always going to be waiting on IT to give you that time, right? And sometimes they are just busy because they get requests from all parts of the organization. Data is, in fact, one of the most significant issues in FP&A processes. Single source of data anyone trusts, 36% still, right? And that probably is the biggest. It's not the skill set. It is not the ability or knowledge. It's not the ability to understand algorithms or even, introduce and work on predictive analytics. It's really a single source of data. So do you have a unique data pool? And if you don't, if you're in one of those organizations, then the change starts from there, because unless you have a unified data pool, none of this stuff is going to happen. I want to end, and because we are out of time, but last few slides do talk about the ability of AI, and just have a minute here. But you do go through why AI, and there are probably more sessions which are going to describe that, where it talks about what is being sustainable in AI, what is AI-based planning, what is an intelligent approach, and which parts need to be involved, what data do I need are relevant for my decisions. But the problem today is that the enterprise objectives still, as I said by the board, are obscure, disconnected from the data layer. So the data layer is where the AI is happening, but the objectives the enterprise sets are very disconnected. So the first thing we need to do is connect this. And some people call it connected planning or extended FP&A. Idea is having visibility across different planning areas to have an agile approach. And understanding is to want to have accelerated planning execution, control, and prediction cycles. And that can be very long, right? With this visibility of data process and logic. And that's why alignment of these plans across the company needs to happen. So these are unconstrained plans, but the constrained plan is really your P&L and your targets, right? I've gotten the Oscar music, but do think about all of these questions. I hope they were helpful, and willing to have more questions in Q&A later on as well. So thank you so much for your time today, and really appreciate the opportunity.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for such an insightful session. We did have a couple questions come through from the audience, so I'm happy just to review those now. We can squeeze in at least one or two. This first question: thinking about boundary conditions is in scenario planning can be useful. However, how well do people work through best and worst case scenarios to make black swan situations less of a complete seat of pants fist fight?
It's a funny question. I won't be able to deny the second part of the question is exactly how it happens. Because if you paint a picture black and white, then you will upset a few people, and there will be arguments and fights. But uh, if you are able to always give your scenario a balanced view or a range, wherein you tell the organization a probability of failure to success or mediocre success, or just failure to low success, is where the beauty lies, where you actually are able to manage those emotions alongside. So the scenario should yield, and your predictive analytics should be designed in a way that you just don't blurt out one answer with a confidence level of 97%. You actually give out certain correlation metrics. You give out a range of an answer, and you say, well, these are the enterprise objectives. I do personally feel that if X, Y, and Z drivers don't materially change, and then there is less than 50% probability of getting there. Now you want to do a fist fight on that, by all means, but that's really the fact. So it's really how you communicate it. But I agree with you. I've been in those situations.
Excellent. Thank you. It looks like we could probably squeeze in one last question. This next question: in what ways can FP&A teams contribute to creating a unified financial strategy that aligns with company wide goals?
Yeah, and I think we talked a lot about that, right? So it really starts with company goals and then goes towards, you know, connecting your data layer and your plans that are made in silos to your financial plan. And you can use technology to be able to do that, right? So the steps towards, and that's what I call an intelligent enterprise, is you have to connect these things, and they have to be unified in one way, and only then you can be agile. Otherwise, your CEO made a plan, and he or she is showing some savings, and that's just not reflected in your bottom up or your top down in your financial plan, and you don't believe it, but the organization believes it, right? So unless you make the connection, you won't be able to change the organization. It's a hard fight. Understanding what your control and prediction cycles um, and those variables are, and what you can use for this connection is key. And you can use your data layer, provided the data layer is there and good enough to be used in an AI/ML model. And then you align your unconstrained plans to your constrained plans. So a sales, marketing, and ops plan, such as what are your supplier agreements, how much you have in inventory, and manage that together, loop back into execution. Easier said, right? But your model should be able to loop that back, and you should be able to go from a P&L metric to an ops metric, like cycle time, for example. And it's very important we have this cycle, because we want to understand cause and effect of every process. And that's sort of related to the previous question as well, because decision in this current day will have impact in the future, which you don't know. And we have to improve over time and optimize towards enterprise goals. It may not happen so much in the next 2 years if the enterprise wants it, because as your financial plan says, no, it won't. But you'll be able to tell them will it happen in 5 years or 10 years, depending on what the model tells you.
Perfect. Thank you so much again, Saurabh, for such an insightful presentation. That is all the time we have for questions, but we will be sure to follow up with you with any that we did not get to. I also want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be made available on demand following the event. Our next session will begin shortly at 2:40 Eastern, which will be a panel titled Finance Transformation 101. Please click on the join button that will appear on your screen to be redirected, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you again.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Brittany and Melissa.